All right, I'm going to be talking about John 16:33 and Jeremiah 29:11. John 16:33 says, I have said these things to you that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. At first glance, these scriptures are talking about two completely different things. One's talking about the troubles of the world and how we should have peace since God has overcome it all, and the other's talking about the plans that the Lord has for our lives even before we were born. But if you look closer into what they're both really saying, John 16:33 is telling us that things in this world will try to beat us down. The world tries to tell us that Jeremiah 29:11 is wrong, that there's no hope, that we have no future, and that we should have fear and be afraid of harm. However, we know because of John 16:33 that God has overcome the things of the world, and because of this, we have the hope that He has a plan for our lives, and the things of the world tries to tell us about our lives and our future are in fact not true. When we start to find this hope and ignore the lies that the world tries to tell us, we can find the peace that John 16:33 talks about. God's purpose in telling us these scriptures is to give us peace. He tells us that specifically in John 16:33 by saying, I've said these things to you that in me you may have peace. It was His entire purpose of the scripture. This is also true for Jeremiah 29:11. He wants us to know that He has a future for us so we can stop worrying and trying to figure out our future for ourselves. These two scriptures may literally be saying two different things, but looking at them together, they have the same message, that God has and has always had control, and because of that, we don't have to fear. I encourage you to use this in your own life when you start to feel anxious or unsure about your future. You can go back to these scriptures and remind yourself that God has already overcome all of your fears and worries, and your future is, has been, and will always be assured in Him. About 1.5 years ago, I went through a really hard 3 months. I lost someone extremely important to me and my family, and I reached the tip of the iceberg with my anxiety. I felt like I had completely lost touch with God. He seemed so far away. I remember going to my mom and asking, why would God let this happen? I felt like He didn't have control over our situation anymore, and I felt so unsure about the future. I'd lost all hope. I went through months of anxiety and grief trying to figure out things on my own. Not only did I push away my friends, my family, but I also pushed away God, until I realized I just couldn't do it by myself. I had to start rebuilding my relationship with God from the ground up. I started by reading Psalms at night before I went to bed. I remember a lot of them had to do with peace and trusting in God and His power and control in my life. The scriptures had a large role in me rebuilding my trust in God, as I started to lean on the scriptures and the idea that God has control over my life and He has a future for me and plans for hope and for me to prosper, I started to see my anxiety decline drastically as my relationship with God grew. Bad things do happen. It's true when He says, in this world you have trouble. In these situations, the world tries to take our hope, our faith, and our peace. The scriptures like Jeremiah 29:11 and John 16:33 are there to give us hope and help us to stop trying to fix our situations on our own, but to let our God who has overcome the world step in and take control. The problem with our generation and our world is that we try to fix things on our own. We try to plan out our future and fix all of our problems by ourselves. We don't realize that when we step back from worrying about our situations and what may or may not happen in our future, and begin to trust that God has already overcome the world and has already written out our future for us, we can find His peace and His truth and His plan for our lives.